Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zeng here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank where I climb the online VGC 20 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the last two episodes, we featured a really cool team with Slurpuff and offensive NDD, so I'll be playing one more episode with it, and then we're going to switch to some brand new stuff. But thank you guys as always for watching Road to Rank, and yeah, sorry for the very late upload time yesterday. I've just been really busy with a bunch of stuff, so I'm going to try to get back on track with daily uploads and have them be at a more reasonable time for those that are watching from the US. But if you haven't seen yesterday's episode, go check that out. It was posted really late, and yeah, we're pretty high up on the ladder right now, so we'll see how much higher we can get. So yeah, let's just get started with today's episode. We're actually up against the Decidui, which is pretty cool given that we were using that just a while ago. So pretty interesting stuff. 3 dragon types in Dragapult, Hydreigon, and the Duraludon. And you've got Whimsicott, Gyarados, and the Decidui. So, first question as always is, can we go Slurpuff NDD? Slurpuff NDD does not really like going up against the dragons, I would say. The Trick Room route might be a little bit more consistent here. I'm thinking about it. I could go like Incineroar Dusclops, and if I go with that, even if you have Hydreigon or Dragapult or even the Decidui, I don't think you can one-shot me, so this might be a better Trick Room game, honestly, in Incineroar, Dusclops, Torkoal, and Venusaur is the last one. I think Slurpuff NDD is really good against anything that's not Tailwind, but against Tailwind, it kind of falls off a little bit because you can just outspeed me after I guess NDD still outspeeds things, but I don't know. Like, for example, if it's Max Duraludon, we don't hit it for really good damage because our only neutral attack against it is Mystical Fire with NDD, so yeah. Once again, guys, this is a rental team, so if you want to try it out, check out the code in the description below. And yeah, let's just jump into today's episode. As always, if you guys enjoy, please share support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. And a lot of VGC players, this discussion comes up like every couple of months, it feels like, but every now and then VGC players always debate about what like the best VGC formats are and what their favorite formats are. So today my question of the day is, what is your all-time favorite VGC format? I think for me 2013 has got to be my favorite, but I really like 2012, 2015. This year I was honestly having a lot of fun with as well, so let me know in the comments below. And let's get started. It's going to be Whimsicott Duraludon, but this is a super free Fake Out Trick Room turn 1. Pretty much no reason to not go for that, I think. NDD could have actually been an interesting fourth option, but I think I still wanted Venusaur, as we'll actually find the items. It's AV eject button. Oh, that's really interesting because we faked that out. We actually force it to switch out, which I don't mind. So I think I'm just going to go for Fake Out Trick Room turn 1 here. My opponent's team is relatively weak to Torkoal. Like, Eruption should do a fair amount of damage. Duraludon probably Dynamaxes and either Max Darknesses into the Dusclops or just goes for a Max Wormwind to just do a lot of damage and decrease my attack onto Incineroar. But there should be a relatively free Trick Room. One thing my opponent could actually have, though, is Dragon Tail Duraludon. Since it is Assault Vest, it has a higher chance of running Dragon Tail. You know, you obviously want to run, like, Draco Meteor or, and Flash Cannon, but then on Duraludons that aren't AV, you normally have Thunderbolt or Dark Pulse as well as Protect. And Whimsicott actually swaps out, so good play. Into Gyarados? It's actually going to be Decidui. Okay. So here's the thing, Dynamax Incineroar could actually be really good here, but let's see if it is going to be Dragon Tail. And looks like it will be. Nice play. No, actually, it's just Dark... he's going for the flinch. That makes sense. That's so frustrating. I mean, I think it was my opponent's best play, so I get it, but that's frustrating. Okay. We're still not, like, in a terrible spot by any means, but it is a little bit frustrating. That being said, let's see. Who do you max here? I would think you maxed the Duraludon still. I don't know. I mean, Decidui doesn't really scare me that much. That was a nice play by my opponent. I think if Trick Room just went up here, there was no way we could really lose, but alas, here we are. I think I actually want to Dynamax the Incineroar. I'm going to go for a Max Knuckle, and I'm actually going to... I'm just going to try to Trick Room again. I was actually thinking of ally switching, but I actually don't want Incineroar to take unnecessary damage. Just Duraludon swaps out. Okay. Okay, into Hydreigon. I mean, I feel like Incineroar has a pretty good matchup against everything my opponent's brought thus far. As Decidui is actually going to be the Maxmon, so probably going to be a Max Phantasm into the Dusclops. Yeah, I mean, if we got a Trick Room, we would just Bulldoze, and I think Incineroar sweeps my opponent's entire team. Because at +2, it should just knock out everything. I have to play around the possibility of that being weakness policy to Decidueye, so I don't want to just max flare and activate a weakness policy immediately. And if for some reason it doesn't go for max Phantasm into Dusclops, then we actually get a Trick Room. If it does go for Phantasm, we get a free switch it into Venusaur. And either case is not terrible for us. Although I guess this Venusaur doesn't have Sash. So the question is, can Hydreigon one-shot it? I don't think it can, but let's see. This game was harder than it needed to be, though, but my put went for the best anti-Trick Room play, given what they led, so understandable. I don't think we survive Phantasm, yeah. Okay, so that's going to get a defense drop. We're actually going to get a Max Knuckle, so we'll be at +1 attack. My opponent doesn't have a way to reduce my attack, and Incineroar actually matches up, like I said, quite well offensively against pretty much everything my opponent's brought. This should bring Hydreigon under half, I would think. Let's see. Wow, it's really good damage, actually. Okay. We do have the defense drop, though. I'm leaning more towards... it's probably better to bring out Torkoal just to set up the Sun immediately. That way Venusaur outspeeds everything that's in the back. Yeah. And you can't one-shot the Torkoal unless your Hydreigon targets me, but I think that's fine. I think I'm definitely going to go for a Max Flare here into Decidueye. No reason not to do that. The question is what to do with Torkoal here. I honestly might just attack. Yeah, I'm just going to go for a Heat Wave. I think that should knock out Hydreigon in the range it's in. Draco Meteor might KO me depending on the item. If it's Life Orb, I think that might one-shot us, but we'll have to see. Interesting to Dynamax Decidueye in this matchup, though. But my opponent probably wasn't expecting, like, full offensive Incineroar. So that Max Knuckle was actually quite nice, and it means we should one-shot everything on the opposing side now, especially with Sun being up. Flare should just one-shot everything. So it's still not a terrible position, but you can see why I was prioritizing Trick Room. And yeah, I mean, I could have gone for a Fake Out onto the Duraludon. And honestly, maybe I should have. I don't know. I mean, in that position, how often is Whimsicott just going to stay in? Especially because I already know the eject button, you know. Okay, Hydreigon is just going to Earth Power. So much that does. Okay, we do survive. That looks like Specs damage. Gonna be a double up into Torkoal. Yeah, okay. That's fine, though. I mean, the defense drops are not really relevant here. And the only way this becomes a problem is if it's actually sashed Decidueye. I could have protected the Torkoal there, but I'd rather just put on pressure with damage right now because I KO with both Pokemon, right? Okay, nice. And I wanted to bring out Torkoal first to set up the Sun because Venusaur is quite good in the late game against my opponent's team. But the scary thing about this Incineroar, of course, is that once it loses Dynamax, it doesn't have recovery, unlike most, you know, Incineroars, so I have to be careful about that, because then it's actually relatively easy to knock out as Whimsicott comes out. I'm pretty sure that was Specs Earth Power. The good thing is actually Whimsicott isn't sashed here, too, which is great. Yeah, I mean... Earth Power shouldn't KO Venusaur, so I think we're fine to just Max Flare the Whimsicott and Sludge Bomb the Hydreigon. That could switch out into... You could switch Hydreigon out into Duraludon, though. So it's actually better to Max Flare Hydreigon, I think, and Sludge Bomb the Whimsicott. Because it's not Sash Whimsicott, so Sludge Bomb should KO anyway. Yeah, I think that's better. Because if I'm my opponent, I would consider Tailwind switch out Hydreigon to reset the... Specs. Unless it's not Specs Hydreigon, I'm just completely wrong on that item choice. Okay, he's gonna switcheroo, but that would take away a potential Sash, but that's fine. I mean, we go first here anyway. Yeah. And we should win 1v1 against the Duraludon with either Pokemon. So I think we're good. Let's see. Yeah, he's just Earth Powering into Incineroar. That actually activates our weakness policy too. Beautiful. Okay, good. So despite the flinch turn 1, we were able to pull through. So that's why it's important to not tilt. Like that was it was like pretty frustrating, but the team matchup looked pretty solid here, especially because my opponent didn't end up bringing what I thought were... I mean, the Pokemon that I really don't like playing against with this team, honestly, Dragapult's still pretty annoying, but it's mainly the weakness policy Dragapults that are running around. If they're not weakness policy, it's a little bit more doable because then I can go with NDD Slurpuff. But yeah, if I led NDD Slurpuff, things could have gotten a little awkward from the get-go because Whimsicott Duraludon gives me kind of a tough time. So... yeah, the Whimsicott not being sashed there made my life a little bit easier. I guess it's still not over, though, because Duraludon is at full HP. But you can't knock out Venusaur unless you Draco Meteor. If you Draco Meteor, then... I mean, I'm pretty sure a Flare Blitz and an Earth Power should just KO here. Like, Duraludon normally doesn't have... I mean, the question is, does it have Dragon Pulse, basically? Earth Power might still just be a 2-KO onto it as well, depending on exactly how much HP and special defense investment has. I could have risked hitting Sleep Power, but I don't think I need to right now. Depending on how much damage we do here, that'll give me a better sense. But we know it's Assault Vest, so it can't protect. And, oh yeah, Earth Power is definitely a 2-hit KO. Yeah, my opponent just Dracos. Nice. Into Incineroar, which I think is the correct target because you basically, to win this game, have to hope that I don't have Earth Power, but Incineroar's clutch and hangs on anyway. Yeah, so that's why, you know, Venusaur carrying Earth Power can be a super, super good attack. Gives you a lot better coverage, allows you to hit things like Duraludon, even opposing Incineroar for super effective damage, and of course when you Dynamax Venusaur, it gives you more opportunity to boost special defense, which can be a really, really big deal. So, yeah. Nice play, honestly, by my opponent. When Duraludon did Dynamax, I was almost confident it would be a Dragon Tail coming out, but instead it was the Dark Pulse Flinch. So, you know, that is one of the ways to deny Trick Room, and that's why, for example, hard Trick Room can be sometimes tough to pilot when, especially like if you think about like the very, very early metagame when, you know, Tyranitar Excadrill, which is still very common, but, you know, a lot of people are running T-Tar Excadrill, so when people are running like Hat NDD, it'd be very easy to deny Trick Room by just going for double Rock Slide because your odds of flinching there are super, super solid, right? So, yeah, I still think it's better. I'd still fake out Whimsicott. Like, I don't really regret not targeting Duraludon, but yeah, in that position, like, I don't know. It's very rare, especially after Whimsicott reveals eject button for that thing to stay in or to not protect. So, like, we could fake out Duraludon for expecting it to not max, and it would cover for the Dragon Tail option, honestly, which, like I said, I thought was more likely than not because it was an Assault Vest set. But, you know, people have kind of moved away from that. With AV, you can also just run, you know, Draco Meteor, Flash Cannon, Thunderbolt, and Dark Pulse. I'd say that's what most AVs Duraludons run. So, yeah. The main thing here, it's crazy because Dusclops is like super, obviously, like takes super effective attacks or damage from Dragapult and Hydreigon, but Whimsicott or Incineroar pressuring Fake Out on whatever doesn't Dynamax just helps us out a lot, and makes it potentially easier to set up Trick Room in that matchup. So we didn't get up Trick Room, but it's all good in the end. We're going up against a very hyper offensive Sun team, which is scary. I'm sad because I haven't been able to play with Slurpuff Indy as much in the last 2 days, or today and this last episode, and we're not really running into great matchups for it. We could lead it here, but Venusaur, like max speed, just outspeeds us in Sun, which is problematic because it can just put things to sleep. I mean, this might not be the worst Slurpuff Indy game. The problem is if my opponent leads Sableye Dragapult and you just activate the weakness policy. I mean, the items on this team normally Sash on the Venusaur, could be on the Ninetales as well, Specs somewhere, Scarf on the Darm. Setting up Trick Room is going to be hard, I think, but maybe it's still fine to lead Incineroar because I think we actually Dynamax Incineroar in this matchup. It doesn't take nearly as much damage. I might just go with the same 4 as the last game. The problem with Slurpuff Indy is the fact that my opponent can outpace me even with Unburden, and I just really don't like that. Whereas with Incineroar Dusclops, what we can do is potentially knock out Sableye early on and then maybe set up Trick Room. And Venusaur also can put things to sleep with Sleep Powder. So, yeah. You know, that's the thing with this Venusaur. You never want to use Sleep Powder unless you can get, like, you're in a position where even if you miss, it's not the end of the world. And with this Venusaur, it can be a little risky, right? Like, your odds of hitting the Sleep Powder are higher because of Wide Lens, but you know, Venusaur will just feint to a lot of super effective attacks, especially in this kind of matchup. So it's Darmanitan Dragapult, which actually is perfect for us, I think. This is a super free Fake Out into Darmanitan and Trick Room. We get to scout out the items too, which is quite nice. But getting an Intimidate against Darm is super, super good. Frisk, Scarf, and Policy. Yep. So pretty much what I was expecting going into this, but still, good to confirm that. Yeah, I think I just played safe and Fake Out. I mean, here's the thing, right? It's so obvious that Darmanitan switches out into, say, Sableye. There is reason to... I just can't risk a double up KOing Dusclops. So I'd rather play it safe and just guarantee Trick Room go up. I think Darmanitan definitely switches out here. But in the off chance that it doesn't and I get doubled up and just lose Dusclops, then I'm in a really tough spot. What I could have done was actually maxed the Incineroar, but I don't think Max Darkness KOs Dragapult anyway. And if Darm does stay in, then it would be very good for us. Because then we can just go for Bulldoze, Max Darkness, and a Dragapult. And Darmanitan does stay in. That could be Darmanitan Dynamaxing. If it's Dynamax Darmanitan and Special Dragapult. We actually could be in a lot of trouble. But it is just Dragapult Dynamax. Okay, that's fine by me then. Yeah, this is pretty much the dream, because I feel like... I mean, NDD plus Slurpuff actually could have worked out here. But... Nah, it's still tough against Weakness Policy on the Pult. Okay, just Phantasm into Dusclops. Okay, that's perfect. Yeah. I mean, that's why I had to fake out the Darmanitan. I can't risk getting KO'd. So, like I said, I really wanted to predict the read in just max Incineroar and attack, but there is no reason to really play risky right now, I think. Okay, so that's obviously a really good turn. I honestly want to max Incineroar. There is the defense drop, which is kind of scary. It is relatively safe to max Knuckle the Darm and go for a Bulldoze to activate my Weakness Policy this turn. I think I'm fine with that. Dragapult doesn't put on too much pressure against me right now. Darmanitan Superpower will really hurt. What I wanted to do was Bulldoze and just max Darkness to KO Dragapult because it's maxed, but to be honest, Dragapult doesn't scare me that much because its Weakness Policy hasn't been activated. So I'd rather just get a guaranteed KO onto the Darmanitan that gets me an attack boost as well, so if my opponent's not Worm-Winding, we're at +1 attack. So today is Dynamax Incineroar day, honestly. This has come out huge for us, and it is really fun playing with this because so many people don't expect it, and it gets really good coverage through, you know, Dark Fire and Fighting. We actually do a fair amount of damage because of the defense drop, and we crit ourselves. That's fine, though. It also ensures Darmanitan just... I mean, not let anything was underspeeding us under Trick Room anyway, I guess. So we're probably fine, but yeah. This is going to be +3 attack now. And yeah, I mean, because of that crit, like, I think a Superpower from the Darmanitan honestly probably would have KO'd us, so we needed to target that down. Max Wormwind will obviously hurt, but it's not going to be the end of the world if we get targeted by one here, so that's fine. Okay. So we get the KO onto Darmanitan, which is great, and it's going to be a Phantasm, which is actually perfect if you're KOing Dusclops, because now you give me a free switch into Torkoal as well. That sets up the Sun. I'm at +3 attack on the Incineroar, so yeah. This is really good for us, actually. It's honestly pretty much the dream. I don't think turn 1s and 2 could have played out much better for us. And I think it'll be kind of tough for my opponent to win this one. Part of the good thing, too, is, like, we put on so much pressure, and then we have Venusaur to, you know, close out the game, and Dragapult under Trick Room just doesn't scare me very much. Sableye comes out. Okay. I wonder if +3 Max Flare and Sun KOs Dragapult. I'm actually really curious about that. I don't even think the Max Wormwind KOs us right now, quite honestly. So I'm just going to Max Darkness Dragapult and Heat Wave, I think. No, I mean, you have to Quash Incineroar here, so I'm just going to Eruption instead, yeah. If you Quash the Sableye, or you Quash the... this is assuming you even have Quash. But right now, my opponent Sableye can either fake out... they could have Rain Dance as well, and they're going to go for Quash. Actually, I forgot you can't even Quash the Incineroar, so we were even better than... Like, I mean, I don't think I would make my play any differently, but yeah, we were even in a better spot. So today it's just Dynamax Incineroar blowing through teams as we pick up a double knockout. Very nice. Yeah. I could have gone the Slurpuff NDD route, but once again, the problem with that route is that the NDD is so frail. So you only want to really Dynamax it when you can sweep through teams, and I wasn't confident I'd be able to sweep through in this game or the last one because I'm relatively slow. But this Dynamax Incineroar is just absolutely demolishing today. I want to get the satisfaction of a Max Flare KOing. There's still 2 turns of Trick Room. Yeah, I mean, Max Flare should one-shot. I just want to see it happen. I think Charizard probably protects her. My opponent just forfeits. Yeah, okay. I just really want to see Charizard get one-hit KO'd by Incineroar. But unfortunately, we'll not see that today. Either way, though, yeah, I was surprised my opponent led with Darmanitan and Dragapult because it wasn't... I guess if I lead anything else, it does put on pressure against, like, my Venusaur. But yeah, the fact that I led Incineroar helped out a lot, so it made my life a lot easier. Alright, so we're just climbing further up. This team is really fun, honestly, and once again, a lot of its value, or not, I shouldn't say a lot of its value because the team itself is just really well built, but when you have a team like this, it's super cool, especially because players just often don't expect some of the crazy sets and items. Like, when you play against an Incineroar, right, in a best of one, no one ever assumes weakness policy. No one ever thinks Incineroar is going to Dynamax. So the fact you have that option just creates so much pressure because players often kind of ignore it as a threat until it's too late. And that's pretty much what happened in that last game where my opponent wasn't even going for max Wormwinds. Like, it actually would have been better, I think, for my opponent to bring Wormwinding into Incineroar just to get those attack drops, because Dusclops in that position actually doesn't really put on too much pressure. And obviously, for a lot of Trick Room teams, you very much enjoy, like, don't mind taking a knockout if it gives you a free switch into one of your sweepers. And in this case, we had Torkoal in the back, right? So, yeah. But otherwise, you know, like, Slurpuff Indy is a very, very good duo, but I still think, once again, what's important, especially playing with a team like this, is having the flexibility of not just forcing it every game, because there are some games where it's just not going to be very good for you. And that last game, I don't know. It could have been alright, but the problem is that the Darmanitan hits us for a lot of damage. It outspeeds the Indy as well, so to KO it, we would have needed to go for a After You and Max Psychic to knock out Darmanitan, but then Dragapult gets a big attack off, and then what do we do after that, right? I'd rather just have my max Pokemon outspeed my opponent's max Pokemon, and we were able to do so by setting up Trick Room. Alright, we're rank 42, our opponent's in the 10,000, so if we lose this, we're going to lose a lot of points. So let's try to win. A lot of beat-up potential here. Whimsicott could have beat-up, Dragapult could have beat-up, and then there's a Justified Gallade, potential Arcanine with Justified as well. Gallade's actually one of my all-time favorite VGC Pokemon. Fun fact, I used it in 2012. I used Trick Room Hail, and Gallade was my Trick Room user. I also built a team with it in like 2018, I think. It was on Road to Ranked. And there's also potential Shadow Sneak from Gallade to activate Weakness Policy on Dragapult, so... It just sucks, because this is like... I wanted to switch teams, but... after today, but... I don't want to switch it if we don't bring Slurpuff Indy in any of the games today. That would make me sad. Because quite honestly, I think the Sun mode, the Trick Room Sun mode is still maybe our best option here. Like, Dynamax and Incineroar just still looks very good on paper against my opponent's team. Alternative is just leading Slurpuff Indy. You know what? It's potentially our last game. I'm just going to lead Slurpuff Indy. Let's make things more interesting. For better or for worse. Torkoal's... yeah, I mean, Torkoal's really not that great here. We can still Dynamax Incineroar in the back, and I'll bring Venusaur for Sleep Powder pressure. So, I mean, the problem with this is, of course, Trick Room will always beat Tailwind. And if my opponent brings a Whimsicott sets up Tailwind, it might make things a little trickier. But I wanted to bring Slurpuff Indy super bad. And if we get rolled, we get rolled. But once again, I think sometimes what I do when I practice VGC is I actually like lead not optimally just to see how I can play myself out of these positions. Given a Whimsicott Arcanine, we actually would have just wrecked, I think, with Instant Dusclops, because would have been a free fake out Trick Room. I mean, beat up stuff is probably going to happen here. Yeah, especially because there's no Intimidate. I don't see how this lead would have honestly beaten Incin. I don't think it would have. Incin Clops, but that's fine. We yawned the Arcanine. I'm just worried it has Max Lightning. Here you beat up your Arcanine. I think you max the Arcanine and you beat up, so we need to stall out the Dynamax. You probably, I would think you would target down the NDD, but I am going to yawn the Arcanine and Psychic Whimsicott. Yeah. The good thing is that we'll get the yawn off for sure. There's no way to prevent it, but I think it's probably max Arcanine, beat up. So then the question is, do you have max Lightning? Yeah, I don't know how this was going to beat Instant Dusclops. Like, if we just lead Instant Dusclops, we get the Intimidate onto the Arcanine, we fake out Whimsicott and just set up Trick Room. But, like I said, sometimes it's fun to put yourself in trickier positions to see how you can outplay them. Because if you're able to get out of, like, not optimal lead positions, then that's a really good sign, right? Because it means that there's flexibility in how you play and how your team works. Yep, so there's beat up. No surprise. Yeah, I mean, I think Instant Dusclops was a pretty consistent combo to be going with. So, but like I said, I really wanted to feature Slurpuff Indy, and I think this is also important to show because it highlights like some of the weaknesses of this, right? Which is that you do get pressured very often by Pokemon that are faster. You can't necessarily guarantee knockouts, especially when you're staring down Tailwind as well. So, if anything, it highlights why I wasn't bringing this duo in the last two games, because it just felt like there was something, you know, a little bit more consistent. I actually think we might have just been able to fake tears and KO Arcanine, but it could be Assault Vest, which is why I didn't want to risk that. But the fact we get a Psychic off first there is actually quite nice. Max Flare. Does this KO? I mean, it probably does, right? Yeah. I don't know why I was surprised by Max Flare, actually. Like, that's obviously the strongest attack it has. Okay. If we want to win this game, we have to Dynamax the Incineroar. No, I can't fake out the Whimsicott anyway, so the Whimsicott's just going to Tailwind. Right. It's basically a question of do you have Max Lightning. And I should have assumed it does, honestly. I also really, yeah, maybe we could have gone. I still think I should assume AV on Arcanine though, so don't really regret my decision there. I'm just gonna launch a sleep. Arcanine's falling asleep here anyway. Unless my opponent doesn't Tailwind actually, then I would for some reason just get the Sleep Powder off. But the problem is if Arcanine actually has Max Lightning here. Yeah, I'm just gonna Hyper Voice and Sleep Powder, and hope to win the game with a late game Dynamax Incineroar. Okay, it's just Tailwinding. I mean, that was expected. See if it's Flare into Venusaur or... Okay, there's Flare, yep. Into Indy. Okay. So we kind of waste our attack here, but not necessarily because that covered for the Max Lightning option. I just want to guarantee the sleep onto Arcanine. And if anything, actually, that works out for us because it denies my opponent a free switch in. The problem is that Arcanine still has one turn of Max, and then it outspeeds us. Which is kind of scary. I could Dynamax Venusaur. Like, it's not out of question. I can't fake out here, unfortunately. I honestly don't want to Max Incineroar because I need the Max to conserve. Need to conserve the Max for the late game. I could Max Knuckle. The question is, do I Max Venusaur or Incineroar? I think Incineroar is the correct answer. It's just the threat of Gallade that's actually a little scary there in the back. But I'm down to Earth Power, Arcanine, Dynamax, and Knuckle into Whimsicott. I think that's fine. Okay. I could have gotten a KO with Venusaur. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think, like, Arcanine having Max Lightning isn't absurd here, and if I don't put that thing to sleep, I just lose for sure. So I needed to go for that out. So the upside here is that we will have the Dynamax advantage. The scary thing is if Arcanine gets a turn 1 Wake Up, we might be in some trouble. If it's anything but a turn 1 Wake Up, though, I think we're good. Yeah, beat up makes sense just to make sure Arcanine, if it wakes up next turn, just gets a 1 at KO. Probably has Max Knuckle, so you can just Knuckle into the Incineroar. So I don't think a double up here was KOing Arcanine anyway, so I'd rather just get the Whimsicott off the field, but maybe it actually would have been fine. Okay, so Arcanine takes its first turn to sleep. We'll be able to see if it's Assault. If it's not Assault Vest, I'll be kind of mad at myself. I think that is Assault Vest, but I actually can't say for sure. Okay, so if we get a 2-turn sleep here, we actually have a pretty solid chance. If Arcanine wakes up, though, we just lose. So, I mean, this is one of the downsides, right? You obviously don't always want to depend on Venusaur, like, in sleep turns to win the game. So, part of the reason why I'm in this position to begin with is because I had a suboptimal lead. And I think it's actually very hard for teams to deny Trick Room if you lead Incineroar Dusclops. So, because my opponent had a Whimsicott, it's actually Gyarados coming in. Okay, so that's going to intimidate us, but I think that's fine. I mean, once again, if you don't wake up with Arcanine, I think we actually probably win this game. But if you wake up this turn, I think we lose. That's pretty much what it comes down to. No Intimidate either. Max Flare might KO Arcanine in Sun. I assume you have close combat, though, and that should KO our Incineroar. I don't think I can risk not knocking out Arcanine here, so I pretty much have to double up into it, which I don't really like, but I don't really have another choice either. So I'm going to Earth Power it and Max Flare. I guess Max Knuckle might have been better there. Gyarados protects. Okay, I mean, it comes down to does your Arcanine wake up? Let's see. Nice. Okay, that's huge. Yeah, Max Knuckle would have been better, I think, because we saw that Earth Power was doing definitely enough. I mean, this covers the switch options as well, but Knuckle would have given us another attack boost, which would have been quite nice. Okay, so it's 2-2 now, and we still have a turn of Dynamax with Incineroar, and we're at +1 attack, and the sun is up, so things aren't actually looking terrible. But, once again, you never want to be in a position where you have to rely on hitting a Sleep Powder to begin with, and then Dragapult's the last one, which is very good to see. That's what we want to see. Wish I knew the item on that, but that's fine. How many turns of sun are up as well? That's important. It's the last turn. Because Gyarados protected, though, I think we just want to target that down. So I'm leaning towards Sleep Powdering Dragapult. Max Flare does, what, 210? Boosted by Sun as well. So should do more than Max Darkness. Wait, am I doing that math correct? I might be doing that incorrectly. Maybe Darkness actually does more damage there. I wasn't 100% sure on that. Oh, he has Flamethrower. Special Pult. Okay. Well, now the question is, what item are you? If we just targeted Dragapult, we would have won. I very much discounted the possibility of bounce. It depends on the item, though. It's not Life Orb Pult, so it could very well be Specs. And if it is Specs, then we actually still have a chance of winning here. Well played. I didn't really have a way around that then. I don't think +1 Darkest Lariat KOs Gyarados, unfortunately. That's why I actually should have Max Knuckled. That was a misplay, too. Okay. But we know you're special, so if you Draco, you obviously do less damage. I mean, I think I need to just hope to KO Gyarados. That was really smart. He's not Spexed. But if we KO the Gyarados, and this does less than half... yeah, we're not going to survive the bounce. Oh... If Darkest Lariat KOs the Gyarados... Oh, okay, it wasn't KOing anyway. I was curious on... Yeah, it just so happened that we ran into... and it was Life Orb Gyarados too. Yeah. We would have been able to sweep if we just led with Incineroar or Dusclops this game, but I wanted to feature NDD, Slurpuff, and... You know, that's... Goes into what I was saying before in this episode. You shouldn't force something if you don't think it's the best matchup for it. In this case, it wasn't the best matchup because we didn't do that much damage with the Indy. I'm pretty sure it was AV on the Arcanine as well, so I don't really regret not doubling up into that slot. What could have been better was going for Max Knuckle onto the Arcanine the turn that we got the 2-turn sleep. Because then we're at +2 attack, and at least we can guarantee a KO onto Gyarados and Dragapult. And in that position... It's tricky, right? Because, of course, I could target the Dragapult with my Incineroar, but Dragapult there, if it is physical, which I would say is still more common, can go for a Phantom Force. And if it Phantom Forces, then I waste my attack, and then the Sun is stalled out as well. So, yeah. Unfortunately, we did run up into Life Orb Bounce. I don't think +1 was KOing anyway. So, yeah. I mean, the main thing was that it was Flamethrower Dragapult. If it were the standard physical set, then we were probably in the clear. So, I think... I needed to play assuming it was special and it was going to KO. You have to KO the Venusaur because I'm just going to Sleep Powder the Gyarados. So I guess it's still probably better to target the Dragapult with my Incineroar there. Because if you're a physical set, then I should just win the game with Venusaur and Incineroar. You don't have a way to deal with both Pokemon unless I miss a Sleep Powder on Gyarados. And if you are special, then I lose Venusaur, but then I KO your Dragapult. And then Gyarados is bounced. I get the Darkest Lariat off. Given that it was Life Orb, though, actually we would have lost anyway unless +1 Darkest Lariat KOs Gyarados. And I don't think it does. So... That was the other misplay, right? This endgame would have been cleaner if I Max Knuckled into the Arcanine, get that +2 attack, and then +2 attack I think KOs both, especially after Life Orb damage from Gyarados, so makes it easier because then I should just Sleep Powder Gyarados and Darkest Lariat the Gyarados. Or sorry, the Dragapult. But yeah, definitely a fun time with this team overall. I might play one more episode with it tomorrow just because I really want to use Slurpuff Indy more, and I feel like I've been forced to use the Trick Room Incineroar mode. And honestly, the Trick Room mode would have worked out brilliantly for us in this game too, because I put in a no way to stop Trick Room. I just fake out Whimsicott, Dusclops sets up Trick Room. That's the beauty of Incin plus Dusclops on this team, because after you set up Trick Room with that lead, you just bulldoze and start sweeping the following turn. So I don't think my opponent had any way to beat that. So in a best of 3, that is the exact adjustment I would make. But I think these losses are good to highlight as well, because I get to show you how I would adjust. I show you what I'm doing wrong earlier on. And for me, like I said, I knew that it was probably not a great idea to bring Slurpuff NDD, but wanted to have some more fun. Unfortunately, it didn't do too much for us. The Yawn was relatively wasted. I don't know. Fake Tears early on I don't think helps too much. If anything, I maybe would have actually liked to double up onto the Whimsicott, just so that it's forced to either Tailwind or Beat Up, and not both. But yeah. I think the Arcanine, Max Speed Arcanine and Max Speed NDD actually speed tie as well, so that was something I didn't want to risk. And yeah, we just so happened to be faster, or we won the potential for speed tie. But yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one, guys. Thank you guys so much, as always, for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys soon. All right. Peace.